Let's talk about a random Spider-Man villain for no reason at all. Also, my cat Mortimer is here. He loves Spider-Man because Spider-Man fights the black cat and the puma, and those are probably it. But he has a lot of animal-themed villains, and so there's a handful of cat-themed villains in there, so that's great. So speaking of Spider-Man, I swear I did not expect him to do this. He's never done this before. So speaking of Spider-Man, this week, the Avengers Doomsday leaks are coming out. People are getting really excited about those, and rightly so. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. But there was also a Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer leak. And this is like the main trailer for this movie that comes out in like 6 months or whatever. As opposed to Doomsday, which is like little teasers for a movie that comes out in a year. So like, I think we can look at this Spider-Man trailer and get some information from it that we haven't got yet. I don't want to have my cat just licking the back of my head for the entire beginning of the video. But this is what we have. And it's not hurting anybody. What's going on? Okay. So Brand New Day, big Spider-Man movie. We know very little about it. We know some actors that are cast in it. We know some characters. We have an idea of kind of where Spider-Man is right now in his life. Like if you'd ask me what's the story of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, easy, I can explain that to you. Because that's based on a very specific comic book, no problem. But if you ask me the story of Spider-Man Brand New Day, even though that is a very specific comic book, none of those pieces are here right now. So it's very unclear what this movie is going to be like. For that reason, the trailer coming out is going to tell us a lot. Now, I have seen leaked versions of the trailer, very low quality ones, but it does kind of confirm one thing that we assume about the movie. We've been assuming for a while. I'm going to give you levels of spoiler here. This first level is spoiler for the trailer, and the reveal in the trailer is that Sadie Sink's character, whoever that is going to be some sort of antagonistic figure. She threatens Spider-Man in the trailer. Here's exactly what she says. She says, "You're a mess, Spider-Man. Stay out of my way. Otherwise, it won't just be your friends who don't remember you." So that is what Sadie Sink's character says to Spider-Man. And she knows about everything that went down in the end of the last Spider-Man movie. So like that's pretty significant. You don't expect very many characters to remember that. But besides that, I don't think we have any footage of like her doing anything specific. She looks just kind of like a slightly sinister version of Sadie Sink. And we have been asking for a while, because she was like one of the first people cast in this movie, like, who is Sadie Sink going to be playing? Which Spider-Man character, maybe love interest, maybe friend, maybe ally, maybe villain is she going to be playing? Now, at this point, I think we're leaning towards villain, but that doesn't narrow it down at all. There are so many Spider-Man villains and so many Marvel characters because, frankly, this movie has the Punisher in it. This movie has the Hulk in it. Like, we are not restricted to just characters that traditionally hang out with Spider-Man. So we've been wondering for a while, who's Sadie Sink going to be playing? And a bunch of names have come up. People have said maybe she's Jean Grey because in Stranger Things, she kind of looks like Jean Grey. People have said maybe she's the new version of Mary Jane. People have suggested maybe she's Firestar. I think that would be my favorite version of it. I don't think that's what it is now. But like, there's so many options for characters she could be playing. However, whenever like scoopers have kind of talked about it, what they think her rumor is, one name comes up a lot for a character that is both pretty obscure and doesn't really fit into this story. But it keeps coming up enough so that it's made me go like, well, maybe it's her. Maybe that's who we're getting. And I want to tell you guys who that character is in the comics, like what they mean. I don't think what I'm about to tell you is going to be translated one-to-one into this movie at all. But if like before Spider-Man Far From Home, I explained to you who Mysterio was. You'd never heard of him. You didn't know who Quentin Beck was. You hadn't seen the costume. And I explained to you what his usual deal is and how his powers worked. You would go into that movie and I think be a little bit less surprised by the reveal. I think it's pretty clear when the movie starts, like there's something up with him. But like the specifics, right? Those are things that I think knowing about the comic will give you more information than someone who's just watching the movie fresh. I'm not convinced me explaining to you who this character is right now is going to spoil Brand New Day, because I think there's a very good chance this character is technically going to be named the thing that I'm about to say, and she's going to have maybe some of the powers and some of the connections, but I think a lot of her story is probably going to be changed. Now, I'm not trying to spoil the movie or anything like that. This isn't one of those videos. I have just had a lot of people ask me, hey, who is this character? And I've read the books they're in, and there's not a whole lot of information about them on the internet. So like, here's a video about who they are. So at this point in the video, I'm going to spoil who this character might be. It is not confirmed as I'm recording this video on like the 18th of December, but I do feel like because the trailer set her up as an antagonist, a mysterious antagonist, I think people are going to start looking into like every Spider-Man villain that could kind of play this role. And like, listen, I'm not convinced that she's not Jean Grey. Jean Grey could do this for sure. Jean Grey could fight Spider-Man. Firestar could fight Spider-Man. Black Cat could fight Spider-Man, right? But let's say it's this other character, so I'm going to say the name of them. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Shathra. Okay. You may be going, I have never heard of this character. And like, that makes sense because they don't matter. As far as Spider-Man villains go, I would be very surprised if like a real big Spider-Man fan who'd read all the Spider-Man comics was asked to rank their top 30 Spider-Man villains, and she was on that list. Honestly, I think maybe she'd start making a list around like 50. But like, compared to all these other guys, compared to some characters who have not been in these movies yet, like the Scorpion, for example, and like, yes, Matt Gargan's in the movie, but like not as a proper Scorpion, like, Shathra is nowhere near that character. For reference, she has been in exactly 20 comics as of right now, 20. So, like, that's not very many. Which means her origin and her whole deal, very simple. This will be easy to explain. And like I said, I don't think this is exactly what she's going to be in the movie. I think they'll probably take some parts of this, if this is what they're doing. So Shathra, or Shathra, or however you want to say it, because like I said, this character isn't a really big deal, so I have not seen like a TV show that has pronounced this character's name. Like, Shathra makes it sound like she's from like Long Island or something. It's very, hey, Shathra. But on the other hand, I think based on another name that she will eventually be called by, it's an ass sound. Anyway, here's what Shathra's deal is. Shathra is like an old god character on the same level of like Khonshu and Bast and these other guys. And they all come from Earth 001, which is like the prime Earth. Because like, remember, in the comics, the Earth we spend all our time on is 616. So like, this is a special Earth where everything was created, including something called the Web of Destiny. And this connects all the spider people and all of the people all over the world and through all of reality. And only the spiders can traverse the web and fix it and stuff like that. And hey, you probably hear me talk about spiders a lot. And you're like, oh, Into the Spider-Verse, fun. That is fun. However, we're going to bump up against the topic in Spider-Man comics a lot of people do not like. And we're just going to have to talk about it because it's a big part of her deal. And that is the spider totems. The spider totems was an idea introduced in Spider-Man comics in, I think, the 2000s. And it was the idea that, like, not only is Spider-Man the preeminent Earth-based spider-themed superhero, he is, for the reality he is in, the platonic ideal of spider. Like, he has the essential spider qualities, and he represents spider. And this is not just a spider thing. Other animals have totems. Black Panther is the panther totem. In that same way, he represents Panther. Now, does this matter? Like, usually? Not really. This does not change how Spider-Man works or anything like that. I think, if anything, you could use this to kind of explain why there's Spider-Man in every universe is because the spider totem has to exist in every universe, whatever. So Shathra is like an elder god from before any of this stuff ever happened. Her and Bast and her sister Neith are all like, what should we do with creation? How are we going to make everything work? And some of the gods asked Shathra, can you organize creation into something? Connect everybody using something. And she created the nest. And this was a big, like, ugly wasp's nest thing. And it was organized and everybody was going to live in it. And they were all going to kind of not like work for her, but play by her rules. Neith, Neith, her sister, on the other hand, was like, no, we should do a web. Web is fun. Web is more fun than nest because you can go wherever you want on the web and things connect and it's crazy and chaotic. And all the other gods were like, oh yeah, that web idea is cool. And Shathra's nest is gross and weird. So even though she didn't really act like it in the moment, Shathra was upset that her idea didn't get chosen. So she manifested being this demon thing. And because Neith created spiders to protect the web, Shathra became a monster that would kill spiders. And even though this is before reality and it could have been anything, it became a wasp. So like an evil wasp that attacks spiders. And Shathra became this wasp goddess. Specifically a spider wasp. Now I know what you're thinking. Why not just call her the wasp? Well, that's why. Because we already have a wasp in Marvel Comics. But why call her Spider Wasp then? Well, in reality, this comes from the idea, like, in the comic writer universe of like, well, if you want Spider-Man and the spiders to be attacked by someone, it should be spiders' natural predators. And who is that? And technically, there's something called a spider wasp, which kills and paralyzes spiders, and then lays eggs in the spiders, and then they come out of the spider, I guess. I'd never heard of them before this, but that is why we call her Spider Wasp. It's not because she's like part spider, part wasp. She's a wasp who hunts and kills spiders. And she, because she's this spider wasp entity who has a hatred of spiders, wants to get all the spider totems. Because a lot of the time, what the spider totems and what the totems do is exist in a universe until someone wants to go eat them. And then someone like the Inheritors or Shathra go to that universe and try to eat the totems because that's good for them, or destroy them or kill them or whatever. It's funny because the inheritors are kind of vampires. We're not going to talk about them. But okay, so Shathra used to look like a person, now kind of a black shadow monster, very reminiscent of the character Blackheart, who most people probably know from Marvel vs. Capcom, but it's like a Ghost Rider villain and the son of the devil. She's not the same thing as him. She has more insecty features, usually has wings and like those mandibles or whatever, but you could mistake her from a distance for a Blackheart kind of character. And she just exists in the multiverse, and she's always out to get the spiders or whatever. She doesn't seem like she's actively doing very much about it until Spider-Man chases some other villain into the multiverse or something and bumps into the web of destiny, and Shathra's like, ooh, that guy is interesting. Like, I gotta see what's up with him. So the first comic Shathra's actually in is Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, Issue 46. It was written by J. Michael Straczynski and is art by John Romita Jr. Like I said, Spider-Man not out looking for Shathra's, and Shathra not pursuing Spider-Man or any bigger goal. But then when she sees Spider-Man, she's like, I gotta get this guy. So Spider-Man fights Shathra, and Shathra is very powerful because she is like a multiversal god entity thing. She's very fast, she's very strong, she's presumably faster and stronger than Spider-Man, she can fly, she can sense Peter and kind of read Peter's mind, she can smell spider totems so she knows where he goes, and like I said, has a connection with the spider totems. So she fights Spider-Man for a little bit, Spider-Man gets away, and this is where like maybe the most interesting thing about Shathra is going to come up. She's a character who hunts Spider-Man. But much like Kraven, she's in it for the love of the game. Obviously, she wants to kill Spider-Man and eat his gooey spider totem center or whatever, but she also wants to have fun with it. She could just go into his house and beat him up, but, you know, why not break his spirit a little bit? So this is the most interesting thing she does in her whole run of comics, and this is maybe what I think they might adapt, kind of. I don't know how they'll do this, but, like, Shathra pretends to be a person named Sharon Keller, who is not a character up until this point, just a random person. And Shathra, as Sharon Keller, normal person, goes on the news, and Shathra knows that Spider-Man has a girlfriend, and Shathra goes, hey, I'm Spider-Man's girlfriend. I want to tell you about all his weird freaky stuff that he does in bed, because we have sex, and he doesn't tell people about it, but I want everybody to know. This is psychotic behavior, and it really gets to Peter. Like, she wanted to kind of smoke Peter out, and this gets Peter to come immediately start beating her up, which could have gone real bad if she didn't immediately turn back into Shathra, because otherwise this would be like an all-time bad look for a superhero. Is a woman comes on TV and says she slept with you secretly, and then you just show up and fight her. Like, if Shathra pretended to actually be Sharon Keller for just a little bit, for just like until they could get off the camera, this would ruin Peter Parker's life forever. But because she immediately turns back into a monster, everybody's like, oh, I guess that wasn't true. And also, that's a monster person. And honestly, if you're Spider-Man, I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often, because you deal with Chameleon, you kind of, I guess, deal with Mystique, Mysterio does illusions, right? Like, if Spider-Man came out and just said something weird, or someone out of nowhere was on the news, like, I know things about Spider-Man, I would just assume this is one of his trickier villains, right? This is a Mysterio thing. Or Venom. Venom can shapeshift usually, right? Whatever. Because yeah, Shathra can shapeshift. Now, she does this mostly to mess with people. As far as I can remember, she'll do it maybe 2 other times. So Peter and Shathra fight. Ezekiel Sims, I think, shows up at this point, who is not anything like the character from Madam Web, in case you're like, oh, sweet, this is going to be Madam Web. It's not really Madam Webby at all. I mean, it's a little Madam Web, because then they go to an ancient spider temple, but it's in a different part of the world, and they only go there because it's where the spiders are strongest, so that's where Spider-Man can beat Shathra. And then Spider-Man just beats her, and then she's gone. This is not like a big giant arc in the comics or anything. She does not have an event. She's just kind of there, and like, she's a problem. And then they beat her up, and then she just doesn't come back immediately. She will come back eventually. And while she's shown up here and there, I would say her other 2 important appearances are, she showed up near the end of the Kane series, like Scarlet Spider Volume 2, I think it was issues 24 and 25, where it turns out she wants to kill Kane so she can like make her baby. She very frequently she wants to like make, and she'll have like lots of little bugs and drones that she'll send out. A lot of that comes up in the next story, but that's how she rationalizes why she's here to fight Kane. And she, like in the last story, pretends to be Kane's girlfriend, Annabelle Adams, and then sleeps with Kane. And then Annabelle shows up and she's like, hey, who's that person? It's me. And she's like, I'm Shathra. And then they fight a little bit. Kane kills her because Kane doesn't care. He's an anti-hero. And then that's the end of Shathra in that story. But Shathra continues to be like reborn. You can't kill her. She just comes back into the web of destiny. But then I would say maybe her biggest story, End of Spider-Verse, a spider person touches a specific part of the web of destiny and it frees her because it is the prime threat. And what she goes and does is she takes all the spider people and corrupts them and turns them into her spider wasp zombie drone guys. First she gets whoever it was, I can't remember, who tripped the thread. Then she goes to the Spider-Man Noir book, again pretends to be a woman, hooks up with Spider-Man Noir, and at the last minute takes over and turns him into one of her agents. He becomes kind of the leader of her swarm of villainous spiders. And then Madam Web, hey look, it's Madam Web again, this time it's Julia Carpenter, but still, she has to recruit Spider-Man and a bunch of the Earth spiders because they can't get turned into monsters, and I guess they kind of did that because, like, Shathra can turn all the rest of the spider people from all over the multiverse into her drones. But I guess they looked at the comics and were like, well, she never did that to Spider-Man or ever brought that up. So I guess maybe she can't do that to 616 because Peter is the chosen one. He's like the most important spider there ever was. So Julia Carpenter recruits the Earth 616 spider people. As that's happening, Shathra is taking over all of the rest of the spider people, turning them into her drones, and they have to have a big fight, and it's complicated, and she tries to turn them. Eventually, she is destroyed, but not killed. She's kind of set at peace by Spider-Man, so it's like maybe we will never see her again. And this is a relatively recent event. This is definitely post 2020, but like, those are the 3 Shathra stories. I believe if you look her up on YouTube, if you want to like find out, because this is what I always do with these, I'm like, is there a lot of Shathra videos out there? People talking about Shathra? Most of the hits that I got for Shathra videos are from, I believe, her Marvel Contest of Champions character, which seemed to be introduced maybe 9 months ago, which is a little weird because it's like, even though there's a lot of those guys, Shathra's a really low level character. So it's like maybe someone at Marvel Studios was like, hey, you should probably start putting Shathra and stuff. But like, we've seen those 3 stories. Let's talk about what are essential Shathra qualities. Besides being scary and shadowy and wasp-like, she also hunts the spider people because she wants to kill them and use them to make her children or something. Or maybe she wants to eat them. It's unclear. That's the problem with the totem stories a lot of the time, is they're just really high. Like a character shows up, it's like, I would like to challenge you for totem powers, and it's like, it's a lot easier if you guys are robbing banks for me to figure out what the stakes of this are. But she wants to get you if you're a spider person. She frequently shapeshifts into the form of a woman, usually an attractive woman, to sleep with or pretend to have slept with the spider person, so that she can get close to them, so that either she can turn them or like kill them if she wants to. She's very strong, but not like unstoppable. She can be beaten, she gets shot with like a rocket launcher, and that does a good job of like at least weakening her, right? And like under the right circumstances, spider people have killed her. So she's got what I'm thinking is kind of like a trickster goddessy vibe. Here's the problem with, and we know so little about what Sadie Sink is doing in this movie. First of all, Spider-Man is the only spider character that appears to be in this movie. So it's a little weird. Like, if there were a lot of other spider people, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of why this is a Shathra. That's why they needed Shathra for this story. It's because everyone hates the Inheritors, but they want someone from another universe hunting the spider people. And that's kind of what this character is for. Again, it's predicated on the idea that, like, we understand that spider wasps hunt spiders. And, like, I didn't know that before. If Spider-Man was, like, Salmon Man and she was the bear woman, we would know, like, oh, that's a predator-prey scenario. But with this, like, I just don't think that registers for most people. And that's why Kraven is kind of already this and fits better as the guy who wants to hunt spiders, even if it is just for stupid totem nonsense. It's like, yeah, and he's just a hunter who hunts the guys, and one of them now happens to be Spider-Man. I don't know. That just feels more natural to me. But, like, so no other spider people in this story. Now, Spider-Man has messed with the multiverse, but problem number 2, it seems like based off of everything I've heard anybody say about this movie, it is not going to be that multiversy. They may get into it a little bit, probably as like a consequence of what happened at the end of the last movie, but fans very much want a street-level Spider-Man movie. They've said it so many times, and like Tom Holland says that he has been reading what the fans have been saying, and I'm not saying that that means he has to do this, but like every signal they have sent out suggests that this is where they're going with this. And street level can be anything, right? The Hulk can be street level, Punisher street level, Scorpion street level, they all fit. And Shathra, to be fair, if she just showed up and started beating up Spider-Man and then left, street level. But if Spider-Man has to go through the multiverse and the web of destiny and stuff to kill her, then it's like, we kind of lost it. So for that reason, I don't think she fits. Other reason, my big one, is her dialogue just doesn't gel with what Shathra usually would do. Specifically, she says, "You're a mess, Spider-Man. So first of all, a little catty, not as otherworldly as you would expect for a character like her. But second, stay out of my way. She threatens Spider-Man, which means she's after something else that's not Spider-Man or other Spider people, because they don't exist in this universe. We've never seen any of them. So it's like, wait, what does she want then? Because Shathra exists specifically to get Spider people or clones of Spider people or whatever. And if this character's like, Spider-Man, don't mess up my plan, which would suggest that you are not part of my plan, not involved, so stay out of my way, which you would not have been in were you not in my way. Like, there is a plan that she wants something else. And it's like, that's not what Shathra does. She doesn't work like that. Now, is it possible, and maybe likely, that this is a bunch of characters smushed together and they decided to give her one identity, and the one they went with was Spider-Wasp or Shathra? Yes, very possibly. We know, Kevin Feige likes these comics, so he might just be like, we should put Shathra in one of these. Specifically, like this run, the Straczynski run, I think we know Kevin Feige is a fan of. I don't really know too much about Destin Daniel Cretton, like what he likes in Spider-Man, but like Feige does definitely have opinions about Spider-Man. But like there have been other characters that have been rumored, maybe the Spider Queen, which is the character from the Spider Island story. Maybe this character is going to do Spider Queen things, which would be just to give everybody spider powers, which I don't know if that would be as fun. Although maybe the trailer would suggest that Spider-Man's getting like a spider upgrade, so maybe that becomes something that everybody gets. I don't know. But if that is the case, maybe you just don't want to call her Spider Queen because it's kind of a dumb name, so you pick Shathra and make it so that she's a Spider-Wasp and she's out to turn everyone into spiders because that will feed her spider hunger or something. Spider-Man's getting in the way even though he is a spider. Maybe she wants him last. Like that maybe kind of works. There have also been rumors that Sadie Sink is going to show up. Well, I don't even think these are rumors. Pretty sure this one's confirmed that Sadie Sink is going to show up in Secret Wars. So Spider-Man, as far as we know, is not in Doomsday, which makes sense because the movies come out in the same year. He's got his own thing to do. But then if he's not in Doomsday and then he shows up in Secret Wars, I assume if Shathra is the villain in this movie, Spider-Man's going to beat her. And I don't think we're playing by Fast and Furious rules here, where they're the bad guy in one movie, but then after they lose, they become part of the family and they're good. It's like, that seems strange. That was the main reason I was kind of like, oh, maybe she's Jean Grey or Black Cat or something like that. Those made sense to me as like spider allies who you would expect to see in Secret Wars, without knowing what Secret Wars is specifically, but just knowing that it's like a big team up and it's going to be lots of people. So like, they wouldn't hire Sadie Sink for this if they didn't need to, if she was going to be worth it. Also, I haven't really mentioned this yet, but this is just another thought. As someone who has seen Madam Web probably more than most people on planet Earth, besides maybe the people that worked on it, were it not for Madam Web, I would 100% assume Sadie Sink is playing Julia Carpenter. She's the second Spider-Woman, and she has red hair, and she was introduced during the original Secret War event. Like, that was when she showed up. She's played a kind of big role ever since, including being Madam Web. She takes over from Cassandra Webb. In fact, a lot of the images that they use to be like, this is who Dakota Johnson's playing. It's like, no, the version that Dakota Johnson's playing looks different. That's the one that Sydney Sweeney's playing, who is not that character yet, but will eventually be. Anyway, I would be convinced this is just Julia Carpenter. And maybe it still is. I mean, that would be so confusing, but like, nobody saw Madam Web. I mean, everybody saw it. It was great. We all watched it. But like, if they didn't burn that character, I'd say she shows up here. She could be Spider-Woman. We could be doing Jessica Drew and just like an unusual Jessica Drew. I feel like sometimes Jessica Drew is British and sometimes she's not. And also, she just doesn't look like Jessica Drew. And also, like, Jessica Drew, especially in the beginning, it was like, I'm not the same thing as Spider-Man. We're different. And I'm like more of an experiment kind of guy, and he's part of this whole spider side of things. Like, and as the Spider-Verse like brought everybody on board and kind of made certain characters official, Jessica Drew is involved in those stories, so she is like a spider person now. But anyway, there's a lot of characters that she could be. But again, the fact that Shathra keeps coming up, it's like, at least she's probably going to be named Shathra. But like, I don't think this is going to be a normal Shathra story, unless something about that leak is wrong. But like, the way that that line plays in the trailer, like, that doesn't sound like AI. That sounds like, and I've heard some of these leaks where I'm like, that sounds like AI. That's not what a person sounds like. But this one, I'm like, that is a line read by an actor in a show that I'm currently watching. So like, I'm very familiar with her tone, what she sounds like. I mean, I'm releasing this video before the trailer comes out, so it's very possible that after I put the video out, I am proven wrong on all fronts. Maybe they changed the name of it to Spider-Man versus Jean Grey or something, and I'll look like an idiot. But like, I'll leave the video on YouTube and stuff. You can comment that I was wrong. You know, put this on the Aged Like Milk subreddit. That's fine. But yeah, I just want to give everybody a basic understanding of what the character Shathra is, in case that's what we're dealing with here. Not because I want to spoil it, but because a lot of people are going to be seeing that name floating around, and it's like, who is that? this is who that is. Could she be great? Sure. Does she fit nicely into this movie? Is she the final puzzle piece that makes the rest of the plot and all these characters that aren't usually related, does that make them make sense? No. She doesn't do that even a little bit. She makes it so much worse. But because of how much more confusing she makes it, it makes me think that's probably who it is then, because that would be in line with everything that's happened so far. So listen, we will see. We'll get all this information in the future. You come back, you check this, you laugh, you cry, you go, he nailed it, or wow, he was as far off as he's ever been. And until then, if you want to like check out, I don't know, like a short film or something, you should definitely watch The Dinner Plan. It is a story about a man who has to go to a company dinner and he has to eat the food, but he doesn't like the food. Well, it's not that he doesn't like the food, it's he's allergic to the food. And like that's stressful for him. Take something that's silly, playing it very serious. Is directed by friend of the channel, Patrick H. Willems. It's got John Hodgman, Miriam Shore, Zach Cherry. A lot of people you probably recognize from TV stuff, or in the Zach Cherry specifically, you probably recognize him from being the guy that's like, Spider-Man, do a flip, or the guy that's like, I'm live streaming Shang-Chi. Anyway, if you want to watch The Dinner Plan, along with all kinds of other great stuff, you should check out this video sponsor, Nebula, which we just introduced 3-day trials for Nebula. You're like, what's Nebula? Well, it's a subscription streaming service that I helped to create. I've talked about this many times in many videos before, where me and a bunch of other YouTube creators, people that make videos about like history, culture, current events, science, all kinds of stuff. It's a very big list of what we make videos about. The Nebula is a platform you can go to watch all our videos early, ad-free. You can like download them on your phone. But like Nebula is curated. I don't know if you guys use YouTube a lot. I do for all kinds of stuff, and it has so much AI. And some of it's like obvious AI, right? Like a movie trailer for Avengers Doomsday, and it's all the characters just kind of turning. But there's also AI content where it is a disembodied voice talking about a news thing or character in a comic book or something. A lot of times I'll be like, what is the deal with this vigilante character? I would like to learn a little bit more about him pretty quickly, so I'll put on a YouTube video. And if I did this 3 years ago, it's like people who know what they're talking about, who are fans of the character, research the character, whatever, and they're like human beings. And I love that. Do it now. Unless you see the person's face or you know who they are, it could very well, and a lot of them are just like AI videos where the AI talks about the characters. It drives me up a wall because you don't always know it until like you're a little bit in and you're like, oh man, something about the way this guy's talking just doesn't feel right. But sometimes they just do sound right, and it's not until like you're pretty much done with the video that you're like, damn it, that wasn't a real person. And like Nebula's got a lot of great things going for it, but one main one that I love to tell people about is it's all real people. We are making it ourselves, and all the videos getting made on it are made by us, and it's very cool. And a year of Nebula is already a steal. It's $60 a year, $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, in the month of December specifically, you can get a year of Nebula for half that, for $30. That is $2.50 a month. It is an incredible deal. Also, like I said, it's December. The holidays are coming up. Giving is always stressful. You get somebody like a t-shirt that they're going to wear once or twice and maybe won't fit. Or you could get them a subscription to a streaming service made by creators you know they love that lets them watch those videos early without ads, lets them download them to their phone. And you can get that for $30 a year if you get it within the month of December. That is an incredible deal. That cannot be beat. So again, go to go.tv/thenandocut in the month of December and get a year of Nebula for $30. It's a great deal. Watch The Dinner Plan, watch all my videos early, watch all the other cool stuff we put up there. You're going to love it.